China's economy is not in decline. It's fighting an internal battle between the central government and local authorities. It's breaking markets and damaging cities for one reason: to keep power intact without bloodshed, making the people bear the burden instead. On the map of China, the few places that truly light up at night are always along the southeast coast. Shanghai, Suzhou, and Hangzhou form a golden triangle that represents China's face to the world. Guangzhou, Shenzhen, and Dongguan, close to Hong Kong, are the heart of manufacturing. Further north is Tianjin, once expected to rival Shanghai, but is now often seen as a joke. These places have ports, shipping lanes, universities, foreign capital, factories, internet companies, everything needed for modern civilization. But they have one fatal flaw: their efficiency is too high, and their political power is too low. They are so capable that the central government finds them hard to control. They have become so popular and influential that the leaders feel uneasy. They're not seen as heroes, but as potential threats to stability. So, a planned and systematic crackdown quietly began. Shanghai, the world's busiest container port, was effectively shut down in spring 2022 by an order that paused all activity. Containers piled up at the docks of Yangshan and Waigaoqiao ports, but no workers were allowed to load or unload. Trucks could not pass, and dispatchers could only watch from afar. Shipping giants like Maersk and Dafei rerouted their ships. The entire export chain in the Yangtze River Delta nearly collapsed. Containers worth billions sat out in the sun and rain. No one dared to touch them because politics trumped economics and strict pandemic controls ruled everything. In Dongguan's Chang'an town, known as China's densest manufacturing hub, the situation fell apart in just 2 years. Starting in 2021, a wave of surprise tax inspections hit local businesses. Business owners took to social media, crying out that they couldn't even pay wages. Environmental authorities sealed factories and stopped production. To meet blue sky goals, natural gas supplies were cut off. Special financing channels were frozen without warning. In 2022, local leadership was replaced wholesale. New officials stopped meetings and rejected approvals. Investment projects vanished overnight. This was effectively destroying the industrial structure. Behind this is a cold logic. Those who don't obey get punished first. Those farthest from power get cut down first. Meanwhile, the central and western regions, once only seen on national news as backward areas, suddenly became national stars. You may have started seeing some strange new names like the high-tech demonstration zones, state capital experiment parks, or new third-tier core areas. But if you look closely, these places have no seaports, no industrial chains, and no real market foundation. The only thing they have is political loyalty. Take Gui'an New Area in Guizhou, for example. In just a few years, it was promoted as China's big data capital, with slogans like Data Valley Rising, Smart Southwest. Projects popped up everywhere: National Big Data Comprehensive Experimental Zone, Guiyang Digital Expo Venue, China Mobile Data Hub Base, all sounding impressive but actually quite ridiculous. The entire new area is built in a mountainous hollow. There are no ports, no industries, and no supporting infrastructure. Data centers are built one after another, but their servers rely on power grids from other regions. When the power goes out, everything shuts down. Some parks were completed but have no companies moving in. One person filmed over 100 office buildings and walked all day without seeing many people. Guiyang's Longdaobao Airport built a new terminal, but after 3 years, it still has almost no flights. Guizhou's Jinyang bus station was completed years ago, but today it barely sees 100 passengers. It feels like an isolated island. In Shanxi's Taiyuan, the carbon-neutral industry park launched in 2022 and pushed hard in 2023. It went from a political slogan to a failed shell. Officials call it the country's first carbon peak and carbon-neutral pilot park, and a national green finance experimental zone. They say it integrates carbon finance, carbon trading, and carbon research to turn Shanxi from a coal giant to a green pioneer. But in reality, the area is overgrown with weeds. Many office buildings were topped out and then construction stopped. There were no companies, no orders, no funds, and even the carbon exchange is just a name with no business. When local officials change, the project goes silent. So it becomes clear, today's map of China's economy is no longer about efficiency first. Whoever listens and shows loyalty gets the resources. Those who are truly capable must sacrifice themselves to support others, because if you're too competent, you become a threat to stability. Beijing is fighting this economic civil war with three main strategies. The first is to drain local coffers. Across China's 31 provinces plus 5 specially planned cities, 26 are running budget deficits. They spend more than they earn and survive only by receiving blood transfusions. But who's giving this blood? The answer is Zhejiang, Jiangsu, Guangdong, and Fujian, the most capable and richest coastal provinces. In 2024 alone, the central government is taking 1 trillion yuan from their pockets to support poverty alleviation in other provinces. That money could build 2 more Yangtze River deltas. And no one asks the taxpayers their opinion. They call it redistribution, but it's really plunder. The efficient regions work hard, but have to support those who are politically connected. This is China-style finance, spending the money of those who obey to support those who obey even more. The second move is to replace people. Many secretaries and mayors in coastal cities don't sound like locals, because they aren't. They're officials sent from Beijing. Their first job isn't to get work done, but to review budgets, cut projects, settle old accounts, and change systems. They don't know local businesses, they don't understand the area, and don't care if people's lives get better because they don't plan to stay long. If they do well, they get promoted. If they mess up, they get transferred. No one takes responsibility. Meanwhile, local offices who are rooted in the community, understand the industries, and genuinely want to work are sidelined and silenced. Those who don't obey get replaced. Those who do obey get promoted. The third move is constant pressure. Whenever a place shows signs of development, the central government sends people to inspect. On the surface, it's called anti-corruption, but it's really targeted pressure. For example, if a city quickly attracts foreign investment, its party secretary will get into trouble after a few years. If a park has good investment numbers, the whole team is replaced in the third year. If a local official just returned from overseas talks, they might be called back to Beijing for a chat over alleged discipline violations. So everyone has learned, don't stand out too much, don't be too capable, and stay low-key. China's economy in recent years has barely held up thanks to 3 main pillars: population, land-based finance, and local government debt. But now all 3 pillars are collapsing, not slowly declining, but breaking completely. The first pillar is population. Only 4 regions in China, Guangdong, Zhejiang, Fujian, and Xinjiang, still see population growth. Everywhere else is shrinking. Places like northeast China, Shanxi, Sichuan, and Gansu are experiencing mass outflows. Young people don't want to have children, don't dare to marry, and don't want to return home. Cities struggle to find workers, while counties are full of unemployed youth who lie around and rely on family support. The government still talks about competing for talent, but it's really about chasing anyone who can still pay taxes. As long as people pay Social Security and income taxes, the government can still catch a breath. But what happens when there's no one left? No consumers, no home buyers, no taxpayers, no hope. This creates a low-desire society, and the economy shrinks intensely. The second pillar is land-based finance. With no one buying homes, land sales dry up, so land finance disappears too. Even the Ministry of Finance says that in 2024, land transfer income across the country fell 30 to 80% from historical highs. The bigger the city, the harder the drop. In second and third tier cities, sales were cut in half. In Guangzhou's Haizhu district, entire plots of land meant for redevelopment have no buyers. In Hangzhou's Xiaoshan district, developers gave up their deposits and abandoned purchases. In Hefei, Nanchang, and Shijiazhuang, government stopped auctions altogether and announced that sales were terminated. What does this mean? Local governments used to live by selling land, paying wages, building subways, and repaying debts by that money. Now land sales have stalled like a severed artery. The third pillar is debt. Debt growth hasn't exploded. Annual increases stay around 15%, but the problem is revenue is dropping even faster. Average local government debt ratios jumped from 20% to 35%, with some places crossing a dangerous 60% threshold. Simply put, it's not that they borrowed too much, it's that they no longer earn enough to pay it. Guizhou even publicly announced it cannot repay its debts. Hebei, Liaoning, and Heilongjiang started robbing Peter to pay Paul, borrowing new debt to cover old debt, and even borrowing money to pay interest. With these 3 pillars collapsing, China's economic foundation is gone. It's not war, not the pandemic, and not even US sanctions. It's the system hollowing itself out. So it's unlikely China's GDP will hit 5% this year. You might have seen slogans like these: "Once you arrive, you belong here." Fast-track approval for highly educated residents. Graduates get a 300,000 yuan home purchase subsidy. Free residency, free rent, startup funds. It sounds like a country building a technology powerhouse, recruiting talent. But this is actually China's cities fighting a raw battle, the war to grab population. What they're really fighting over is young workers. Every young person who settles down means Social Security contribution records, an income tax receipt, a potential home buyer, a pair of hands to take over the housing market. More importantly, once you settle, the city can survive another year. It can still pay wages and send money to the central government. Cities like Hangzhou in Guangdong and Xiamen in Fujian are rolling out measures like relaxed residency rules, startup incentives, and doctoral subsidies. Inland cities aren't far behind. Xi'an says grabbing people is like gaining wealth. Zhengzhou offers 10 years of tax exemption, and Changsha allows residency with home purchase. What they're really fighting for is the tax base, the data, the political achievements, and the illusion that the city still has hope. But young people see through all this. They know home prices keep rising while wages don't, and jobs are hard to find. The welcome is just to use and squeeze them, not to give them a real future. Now many people choose not to move to big cities. They'd rather turn to smaller towns, run street stalls, or deliver food than become model taxpayers. Knowing this, coastal cities are not developing or reforming. They're just trying to stay alive. They can't control monetary policy or foreign trade direction. Even the GDP and fiscal revenues they earn can be taken away by higher authorities. Plus, local governments may act eager to grab people now, but they know deep down, one order from the central government can wipe out all their efforts. For example, when key local officials get transferred away, policies tighten, like residency rules becoming stricter or financial subsidies stopping. Central government funding could dry up. All the slogans, subsidies, and people attracted before go to waste. Simply put, local governments have no real say in this population war. The real players in this economic game aren't focused on development. They're running a massive power reshuffle. This is a script already written. The directors of this play are outsiders, often called the Liangjiahe group. Liangjiahe is the small village where Xi Jinping grew up, the setting of his favorite story about his struggle and rise. Many people mock this Liangjiahe group for its loyalty first, ability second personnel system. If you're obedient and show loyalty, even without much expertise, you can be promoted step by step and take control. These people come from Zhejiang, Shanxi, the propaganda system, and party schools. Many don't even understand how local finances work, but hold key positions. So this economic civil war isn't really about restructuring or saving the market. It's about concentrating resources, power, and personnel into the hands of these insiders. They understand that if everyone is equally poor, no one feels unfairness, and that makes control easier. So under the banner of poverty alleviation and strategic relocation, industries and resources meant for the East are being moved inland. High-tech parks move west, military factories relocate inland, and strategic material warehouses leave the Pearl River Delta. And it's not for security reasons. The real goal is to place resources and lifelines where political loyalty is strongest, making all assets serve the new political center, not necessarily Beijing itself, but definitely a core group that follows orders without question. These industry relocations are called national strategies, but the people running the show are insiders within the system. Who decides on projects? Who approves land sales? Who leads investment promotion? It's not local officials or entrepreneurs. It's trusted cadres tightly connected to the core. That's how a small western town suddenly becomes a national-level data zone. An area with nothing around it turns into a digital economy demonstration park overnight. This strongly resembles what rulers do before every war in history. They concentrate resources in their hands. They reclaim local power. They remove anyone who might drop the ball. All this is not about making money, but about preparing for war. They hollow out local areas and replace capable people, so when the time comes for battle, the central command can call all the shots and no one dares to say no. If things continue this way, China faces 3 possible outcomes. The first is total victory for power. China becomes a unified system with no market, no dissent, and no hope. Reform no longer matters, only maintaining central control. The second is a natural collapse of the system. Population loss, exploding debt, bureaucratic laziness, and low social ambition lead not to overthrow, but a slow decay and gradual collapse. The third and most dangerous scenario is this. When internal struggles can no longer continue, war is used to create new divisions, locking society into a wartime state and numbing everyone with nationalism.